Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Let's Talk CFL podcast, episode number 608. I'm your host, Christopher Jones, and we're going to talk football tonight at Canadian Football CFL. We got the week one is in the books. We're going to talk about all four football games, and we're going to do our picks for week two, and we're going to talk about a few other things that Charles had found that maybe interesting to somebody out there. Anyhow, so that's what we're going to do. And we've had an exciting night of football. Four games, finally, four games, like real football games. We got to watch them. That's pretty bloody exciting. So the first game up was, I got to introduce my panel. I'm sorry. My upper right, which doesn't necessarily mean it's the same for you. Never mind. We're just not going to do that. We got Rick McDonald. How are you, Rick? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me again. Sorry I missed the last couple of weeks. Been a busy man.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we got Will, his brother, Will McDonald. William, look up, say hi.
Could you please say it properly? It's MacDonald, not McDonald.
It's MacDonald, I know.
Right.
It's
if
the
it was
Scottish
McDonald,
version, not the Irish version.
We wouldn't talk to you guys because we'd own that restaurant. So, anyways, it's nice to see you. McDonald's.
Remember McDowell's?
It's nice to see you. I enjoyed football last weekend. It was great. I've been waiting for it for a long time.
Or you can have a farm.
And I got my wish. So, anyways.
Okay. And last on our panel, definitely not the least, it's our good friend Charles Cliff, Abbotsford, British Columbia. How you doing, buddy?
Good, but how can I be last? Because you haven't talked to Rick yet. But actually, sorry. Yes,
I did. I started with Rick.
Okay, then I am last.
Yeah. Are you Charles to outer space? Come on now.
It's been a long day. Sorry. I'm doing well. I'm happy that it's Wednesday and football starts again tomorrow. Only problem is I got to work late tomorrow and my team is playing, so I'm going to miss most, if not all, of the game because I have late meetings for work, which kind of annoys me, and that's why I hate Thursday games, or at least one of the reasons. But hey, I can't control the schedule, so that's how it is.
Stay away from your phone and PVR it.
You know what? I try that so often, and it never works. I always find out the score somehow.
Because I want to know what the score is, regardless.
Exactly, yeah.
Charles, I tell you what,
and then
buddy,
I'll watch it if they win.
I tell you what,
If
Charles.
they lose, I don't want to watch the game.
if BC is up or if BC is losing, Charles, I will message you every 5 seconds, okay?
I'll probably know because I'll probably end up listening to it on the radio anyway. So
okay.
I got Sirius in my car, so I can listen to the game on the radio in my car. So that's no big deal.
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because it'll have the Stanley Cup game on.
Yes, it will.
Oh, shoot. No, it won't because the Stanley Cup game is on NHL radio. So the Canada Talks radio will probably still have the CFL.
It fucked me up the other day.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll be wrong. Well,
Canada Talks had the Stanley Cup game on.
Then I'll just put CKNW on. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, you're in the city. You can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're going to review our football games right now. We had the Saskatchewan Roughriders into Ottawa for game one of week one of the 2025 CFL season. We had Saskatchewan Roughriders who were hosting the Ottawa Redblacks. Excuse me. Drew Brown went and put on a clinic on throwing the ball between the 20s. He was unable to put it in the end zone, or he didn't do very well at putting it in the end zone. He did throw for over 400 yards, but it was really a boring game. And you could tell that it was week one. You almost wanted to say it was preseason. It wasn't. Saskatchewan did play a good game of football, but they let Ottawa hang around. And it was close right to the end. Ended up being final score of 31-26. Total points on that game were 57. And let's see what happened down the thing. Charles, everybody picks Saskatchewan on this game. Charles came out with 26 points, Will with 18, CJ with 36, Rick 24, and Sparky came in with 30 points. So I was excited to watch football. So it really didn't matter who was playing and what kind of game it was. We got to watch football. But I really didn't think it was a very well played game. And yes, week one, we shouldn't expect much more than that. Trevor Harris did have a good game. I don't have the stats up right now, so I'm not going to talk too much on this game. And well, fuck it. Let's just throw it away and carry on. The second game up was the Toronto Argonauts and the Montreal Alouettes in Montreal in Miguel. And I'm going to let Rick talk about this one. And because you got notes, you did the reviews on it. So go ahead, talk about the Alouettes beating up on Toronto. Nick Arbuckle looked like shit.
This will be short and sweet. I thought Montreal looked good, both sides of the ball, especially on defense. I thought their defense was very good. And to wrap up Toronto's performance, they looked like shit, period.
I think I made a comment that they looked like a high school team. They were terrible.
No high school team I ever coached.
No, they was actually they played terrible football, and I wouldn't have expected that from the great defending Grey Cup champions and Ryan Dinwiddie's team. But they just looked awful, and there's no way that that quarterback Nick Arbuckle in that game is the same one that was the MVP in the Grey Cup game. Something happened. I don't know. Aliens.
It's not the same team. It's just not the same team that it was last year.
They've lost a lot of people off that defense that won the Grey Cup last year.
Yes, they have.
No, they just really looked like shit. And like I said, I thought Montreal looked pretty solid.
Really impressed with Davis Alexander. He did some really cool plays out there. He did get hurt. He thought he blew out his knee, and then he was back 3 plays later. That is Davis Alexander that we're talking about, isn't it?
Yep.
Didn't he get hurt? He got rolled up on by his own player or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know. One of the things I noticed in that game is I didn't know David Alexander could run like that. He's actually a pretty mobile quarterback, and he's pretty fast. So just an added feature that Montreal didn't have last year.
No, and we all at the beginning of the season said that Montreal was going to be a force to be reckoned with this season, and this game didn't disprove us. I mean, they are a very strong, powerful team. They're probably the number one team in the Eastern Division, and that's not setting the bar really high. But I think they're a lot better team than what anyone else is. In fact, you could probably put the other 3 teams on the field at the same time, and Montreal would still beat them. That'd be kind of funny, wouldn't it? Okay. So the final score was 28-10 for Montreal. Total score of 38. Oh, yeah, never mind. Total score of 38. Everybody on the panel picked Montreal to win. Charles ended up with 18 points, Will with 28, CJ with 10, Rick got 14, and Sparky got 26. I went high on this one, and like my typical 54, and with 38 points, it didn't work very well for me. It worked well for Charles, though. He picked up Will picked up some points here.
Yeah.
Okay. The next game was the Hamilton Tiger Cats came into Calgary to play the Stampeders at McMahon. And Willie, you were there, weren't you?
I was there.
So can you give me the review on this game, please?
I can. So I was one of the 7 fans that were at the game because there was nobody there. I don't know what the attendance was, but it was horrible in my mind.
Where was everybody?
I have no clue, Charles. It was a Saturday.
They said there was 18,000 there, and there's no fucking way.
Well, it's hard to tell. I was thinking there was 20 there, but anyways, doesn't matter. The funny thing is, at the beginning of every game, as you walk in the stadium, they hand you a roster of who's playing. And they didn't do that night. And I didn't know half the players. I didn't know their numbers. I didn't know their names. And I had to look when I got home to see who was doing what. I recognized most of the guys on the offense, but nobody on defense. So, you know what? I had no expectations because we don't know what Calgary is going to look like. Vernon Adams came out in the first quarter, and he looked like the quarterback that played in BC last year. He threw the ball down the field. They scored, 10 points in the first quarter as opposed to Hamilton's 3, and he looked great. And then they switched ends at quarter time, and he was throwing into the wind, and some of his passes got intercepted, believe it or not. But
that's kind of one of the things he does.
Yes, and I knew that. But after two quarters, it was 18-9. So that's the only stat that really matters.
It is.
And then halftime came. The Stampeders jumped right out in the first half and scored a touchdown on special teams, almost scored a touchdown on special teams. They scored 10 points in the third quarter and 10 points in the fourth quarter. Hamilton was never really threatening. Bo Levi threw lots of passes, but it seems that the new Calgary defense is bend but not break. And for the most part, they did not break. I mean, out of Hamilton's 26 points, they scored a touchdown on special teams. And so I thought for Calgary's first effort of the year with 20 new players out of 48, I thought they looked not bad. And I thought their running game was quite good too. So, I mean, will they have a test against Toronto? I don't know. Toronto didn't play very well last week, so they got to play better this week, you would think. So we shall see. But overall, I didn't have a problem with Calgary. So,
and a win is you're happy with Vernon Adams?
For a first game, absolutely.
So I'm being challenged online a lot by a guy named Don Moore, who is a big Calgary Stampeders fan. And he keeps jamming me about BC giving them the number one quarterback in the CFL. And I'm going,
not this week.
No TDs, 2 interceptions versus Rourke, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I'm sorry. How does Vernon Adams better?
But it didn't matter because they were playing 2 different games.
Of course.
They both won. So
Calgary's running back had 3 touchdowns. Vernon Adams was responsible for all 3 of those touchdowns with his passing. Okay. And Calgary just decided to run the ball in the last 10 yards, which is fine and which they should do. For a first game, for somebody I've never seen on the Calgary Stampeders, I think he did well. 2 interceptions concerned me, and there should have been actually a third, but it didn't happen. So, you know what? We knew he was going to do that. I knew there was going to be, if he can get rid of these interceptions early in the season, we'll see what happens. But he did not. Let's put it this way. What he did in the game on Saturday was probably 5 times better than anything Jake Mayer did last year. That's all that matters.
Well, I mean, that was not hard.
No, it wasn't hard. But, hey, you look for improvement, right?
No, of course.
It is. That was the 100%. Improvement. So, go ahead, CJ. What are you doing, CJ?
He's looking at something.
Yeah, he is.
No, I had somebody talking to me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but that's okay. Sorry. We'll carry on here. This is a Hamilton Calgary game, finished up Calgary 38 Hamilton 26, total 64 points. It was getting there. They had 54 points. I'm going, okay, guys, no more points, no more points. CJ's got this one handled, right? And all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. They can't. Too much time in the fourth quarter. Okay, so everybody, no. Charles, Will, and CJ took Calgary, so we got 100 points each. Rick and Sparky did not. But Charles picked up 30 points. Why did you go that? Oh, you went 58. Way to go, Charles. Will only picked up 4. CJ got 22, Rick got 26, and Sparky got 24 points in addition to our 100 points, which Rick and Sparky did not get. Okay, so the fourth game up was the Edmonton Elks coming into BC to play the Lions. I was unable to watch this game. The Coquihalla was closed. I was coming up from Abbotsford to Merritt, and I had to take the Canyon. And on Sirius, I was listening to it, and it kept fading in and out every time I went through a tunnel, and every time I had a mountain on my south side, and it was terrible. Big chunks of the game went missing. And so I'm going to let Charles talk about this game because he was at it. And this is the one that had
Snoop
Dogg concert in there. 52,000 people in BC. Whoa, I froze up there for a minute. Okay, Charles, go ahead.
Well, this was a fun one. I had been looking forward to this one for a while, being that Saturday was my birthday. We had the Snoop Dogg concert, and it was the Lions home opener. So it was a good day that day, and it wound up being a good day for me because my team ended up winning. Lions, Nathan Rourke looked a lot more like 2022 Nathan Rourke than he looked like 2024 Nathan Rourke. That was probably better than any game he showed last year, so that's encouraging. He came out, and the Lions' offense was very good from the start. Now, until we got to the short yardage offense being run by Chase Bryce, and all throughout the preseason, I was saying I was not sold and not thrilled with Chase Bryce. I'm less so now because that short yardage offense was terrible, and it's not just all on him. The play calling was crap too. But they should have had a touchdown and couldn't punch it in from 2 yards out in 2 plays. We had a 3rd and 1, got stopped the very next drive. So that was very annoying because when the regular offense was out there with Nathan Rourke and so on, they looked perfectly fine. I mean, they were really good. People were saying, oh, Rourke got off to a slow start. He really didn't. He was 10 of 13 in the first half. The reason it seemed like he was on a slow start is because the short yardage offense kept botching drives. But they botched one drive, and also Javon Catoy dropped what should have been a very easy touchdown. Rourke hit him right in the hand, and he didn't hang on to it. And I can give some credit to the Elks defense. They played not poorly in the first half. Last year, I remember the Lions, a lot of people complained they didn't make adjustments at halftime. This was not the case on Saturday night because the Lions offense would look pretty good in the first half. I said, and I made this comment on Saturday, they did look pretty good in the first half. They were deadly and lethal in the second half. They were moving the ball at will. Nathan Rourke, whenever he wanted to find a receiver, he found them. And if he needed to get out and run the ball, he did that too. On the other side of the ball, Trey Ford, I've come to the conclusion that Trey Ford can only be effective if it's a broken play and he's running around 30 yards before he throws the ball, because that seems to be the only time he's able to make a play. If it's just a standard drop back play or anything else, he can't read defenses and he can't move the ball. The Elks had, other than those scrambly plays, the Elks really had nothing else offensively on Saturday. So I found their offense very ineffective. And again, I'm going to give some credit to the BC defense. I thought they played well, but he just didn't seem to get any sort of rhythm going. And the only time he made anything that was sort of impressive when he was running for his life, and he used his athleticism to make something happen. Trey Ford is a great athlete. I would never argue that. I just don't think he's a very good quarterback. I thought the Lions, this was a good First week for them, get them out there, give them some confidence on both sides of the ball. I thought Nathan Rourke was maybe the best quarterback performance of the week, maybe him or Drew Brown, but Drew Brown lost and it didn't put up as many points. So it was a good week for the Lions. The concert was enjoyable. I liked the concert. It was a good night all around. This Eskimos team, I mean, they're going to be better than last year. I don't know how much, but it clearly hadn't gelled yet. And I don't think the Lions have fully gelled yet either.
They have not. A couple of things I want to talk about in there, Charles, is last season when Vernon Adams was hurt, or even before Vernon Adams was hurt, they were running Chase Price as the short yardage guy, and he was extremely ineffective. And they went to David Mackey, the fullback. Right. And David Mackey just tore up the league in the ability to do what he needed to do. I don't think he failed on any of his short yardage runs. So,
not that I can recall.
You would think that they would take that recipe and find this new, what's his, Riley Pickett or something is the new fullback?
Yeah.
Pickett Riley or something like that. Maybe
Pickett, you're right.
So maybe they should try that. Maybe they should try something. But Chase Price, I don't even know why he's still on the roster.
Yeah, I don't know why he's still here. Because I found him very unimpressive in the preseason, and I was even more unimpressed with him on Saturday.
Okay, so we're going to talk about quarterbacks later on in the show after we get through these reviews. We'll do this really quickly because we're finished. Cotoy dropped a beautiful pass. I don't understand what happened. And you know what? BC probably lost 21 points off of stupidity. This game shouldn't have been close. But week one, and it's week one for BC as much as it was week one for Edmonton. So you can't expect perfection, but you do be happy with a win because 2 points is 2 points in the first week and the last week. It does not matter.
That's correct.
These games count. You win enough of the 2 points at the beginning of the season, you don't have to worry about the 2 points at the end of the season. So this game final score was 31-14 for the BC Lions over the Elks, total 45 points. Everybody picked BC, so everybody gets 100 points. Charles got 34. Will nailed it, 50 points. CJ got 24. Rick, 28. And Sparky got 34 points. Okay, so how did the week end up? This was pretty much amazing because very rare do we all get 4 games
4 for 4.
Very rare do we agree on anything, and very rare do we get 4 for 4. I mean, I don't remember when all 3 of us went 4 for 4. Sparky and Rick, they're newbies in here, so we don't expect them to be thinking the same way that we do. But anyhow, Charles ended up with 508 points. Good job. I mean, 500 points on a weekend. That's amazing, Charles. Okay? 508. Will was only 8 points back at an even 500. CJ was 8 points back at 492. Sparky at 414. And Rick at 392. Even Rick at the bottom at 392. If he had picked Calgary instead of Hamilton, he would have been tied with me. So this was a very, very, very close week. And I don't know if we can keep this up for the rest of the season, but we'll see what happens. I think this week we're going to pick up pretty much all the same games as well. So we'll see what happens and go with that. So wonderful week. So let's go jump right over to our picks for this week and get going on this and figure out what happens because we're half an hour in already and we need to get going really fast. So we're going to do this, and there's not going to be a lot of commentary on what it is. I want you to say something really astute and keep it brief. So we've got 4 games this week. We got we got BC Lions going into Winnipeg to play the Bombers, and now this is the first game of the year, and Zach Caleros is suspended for a drug violation. I love saying that. That was fun. Okay, so FanDuel has BC Lions by 2.5 points with an over-under of 48.5. CFL Pick'em has Winnipeg at 51, BC at 49. That's because there's more Bomber fans than Lion fans, and they're homers. So, and that's where that goes. Sparky has BC Lions at 44 points. So he's going on the underside of things, but sticking with the favorite. Right off the bat, Charles, homer pick, BC. What's your score?
Yep. I'm going to go BC, and I'm going to go 49 points. I see this very similar last week because I kind of think that Chris Streveler is a very similar quarterback to Trey Ford. They both run around and stuff like that, but I don't think either one is a very good passer. So yeah, I think Nathan Rourke is going to keep rolling along. And if you look at each of the last 2 years, the Lions have gone into Winnipeg early in the season and dominated the Bombers. They've got it 2 years in a row. Here they're doing it without Chris Streveler. I think this is a BC win, BC 49. Well, excuse me. They're doing it with Chris Streveler, without Zach Claris. I say BC win 49 points.
The problem that I have with this is BC has had historically in the last few years a trouble containing the run. Brady Oliveira, Chris Streveler running the ball. If BC can shut down the run, then this game isn't going to be a contest. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's going to be a good game. I'm excited. Chris Streveler throw.
Yeah, that's funny. William, you're up next. BC, Winnipeg.
Here, my Mark Wetnall impersonation. BC sucks.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know who to pick in this game. Did Edmonton have a good running back? No, they did not.
Not really.
Okay, and BC stopped them, I guess.
They did.
Has Chris Streveler ever won more than one game as the quarterback?
No.
And when he did play as the quarterback, it was an important game, and that's why he won. I hate picking BC anytime, but I'm going to pick BC and say 48 points.
When you pick BC, they usually lose.
Yes, sir, they do.
Rick, what are you doing here?
BC 50.
BC 50. Okay.
Winnipeg and we got Sparky does not have a quarterback.
44. Period. We've already said that. Yeah. And CJ is going to take the BC Lions and at 54 points. I'm definitely going on the overside of things. Second game up is the Montreal Alouettes going into Ottawa to play the absolutely useless Red Blacks. Oh, did I say that out loud? Shit, I shouldn't do that. Charles is back. So we've got Drew Brown versus Davis Alexander. I'm going with Davis Alexander. I'm going to take the Montreal Alouettes. I'm going to go with Montreal, and I'm going at 54 points. Sparky did Montreal at 47. FanDuel says Montreal by 1.5 with an over-under of 49.5. CFL Pick'em 1.5.
Jesus.
CFL Pick'em has Montreal at 81%, Ottawa at 19%, and Sparky has Montreal at 47%. CJ has them at 54. Going backwards here, Rick, what are you going to do here? Montreal, Ottawa.
Montreal 50.
Montreal 50. Okay. I want you to know here, Sparky's really high on Ottawa, thinking that they're way better than the bottom team in the league, and yet he doesn't pick them. Okay. William, you're next.
Yes, I am. Ottawa is not as bad of a team as you think they are, but you think every team is bad. You think every team is bad. So
no, I don't. Montreal's a good team.
Yeah, anyways. Ottawa will have Mr. Crum, I would think, playing quarterback since Drew Brown is out.
Yeah, Drew Brown is out.
That's correct.
Okay, so you can't go against Montreal right now. Montreal 48.
Montreal 48. Okay. Charles, you're last there, buddy. What do you want to do?
Well, I wasn't impressed with Ottawa going into the season. I'm less impressed last week, and they don't even have Drew Brown. Is Brown better than Justin Crum? We never know. But Dustin Crum has come in and had some good games in the past. But I don't think he's good enough to beat Montreal. Montreal is a pretty good team, and I think they're quite a bit better than Ottawa is. So I'm picking Montreal to win this one as well. I'll say Montreal 46 points.
46 points. Okay, there we go. Third game up is the Calgary Stampeders into Toronto, BMO Field, to play the Argonauts. We've got you know what? We haven't been doing the CFL Pick'em, the group up there. They got Winnipeg taking 3 out of 5. BC only got 2. Montreal straight across the board. Calgary gets 3, and Toronto gets 2 for the pick here. Jamie Nye and Matthew Cause have taken the Argos fools. Okay, so FanDuel has Toronto at 3.5 with an over-under of 50.5. CFL Pick'em has, whoa, what happened there? CFL Pick'em has Calgary at 59, Toronto at 42, and Sparky has taken them at Calgary at 47. Calgary at 47. William, what do you want in this game?
Oh, Calgary and Toronto are always close games because 90% of Toronto are ex-Calgary guys.
Yeah, including their quarterback, Nick Arbuckle.
And they seem to have their number most of the time, but I think it's changed so much. And this is an important game, and most of these young guys on Calgary don't know Toronto from anybody else. So I am going to go with Calgary, 48 points.
Calgary at 48 points. Awesome. Okay. Charles, what do you want to do here?
No Chad Kelly again. They're going to Nick Arbuckle. Arbuckle didn't look very good last week against Calgary, against Montreal. They are playing at home. They got that, but that's not always necessarily a big thing. It's hard to have home field advantage when there's only 25 people there or whatever. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's not nice. But we were commenting about the Calgary game earlier. It's a similar situation, but I just don't think Toronto is playing well right now. I think they've actually even been hit harder than we are giving them credit for. They got that defense, and I think that's actually decimated their defense. Their defense, which didn't look very good a week ago against Montreal. I got to go with Calgary this week. I think Vernon Adams, he was good. He wasn't great, but he got the job done last week against Hamilton. I think he's going to do the same thing this week against Toronto. So I'm going to go Calgary 44.
34?
44.
44. Okay.
Yeah.
44. Okay. CJ went in at 54. I want to talk about it just for a second. Calgary is not as good a team as Montreal, in my opinion. Okay.
No,
both of those teams, right? Montreal beat Toronto quite handily. Can Calgary do the same thing? Yes, maybe not. Is Toronto and Hamilton equally pathetic little teams right now? I think Hamilton is actually a better team than Toronto, and Calgary handled Hamilton. So I really think this is a Calgary game to lose. So we'll see what happens there. I did pick 54 points. Rick, you're up next. What are you going to do? Are we making these all unanimous?
Calgary 50.
Calgary 50. Okay. So now this is a little bit tougher game. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
We'll see what happens. It's Saskatchewan into Hamilton. What is the new name of Timbit Field? Do we know?
I believe right now they're just calling it Hamilton Stadium because I don't think they have a corporate sponsor yet.
Okay, so Timmy's walked away from them is what the problem is.
Yeah. Well,
okay, so CFL Pick'em has Saskatchewan straight across the board, everybody. FanDuel has Saskatchewan by 3.5 with an over-under of 50.5. CFL Pick'em has Saskatchewan at 76%, Hamilton at 24%. The Sparky calculator has Saskatchewan 55. Okay. CJ's going to jump into this one just because I'm taking Saskatchewan again. You know what? I used to go through these pick'ems and absolutely refuse to pick Saskatchewan. I'm not doing that now because I don't want to lose all the time. So I'm taking Saskatchewan at 54 because I think they quite handily can take care of Hamilton. And we'll see what happens there. Rick, you're up next. What do you want to do here? Hamilton, Saskatchewan.
Hamilton 50.
Hamilton 50.
Because I
Ooh.
still hate Saskatchewan and I'm never going to pick them.
I understand that, but you picked Hamilton last week, and how'd that work out for you? Okay. William, what are you going to do
50
here?
odds here.
I'm really torn here because I hate Saskatchewan too, but there's lots of ex-Calgary guys on Saskatchewan. And I don't think Hamilton did not look good. Whether that's a first game jitters and they just weren't used to things. And I had thought about picking Hamilton, but I don't want to be like my big brother. So I am going to pick Saskatchewan 48 points.
This is my chance to make up some ground.
Yes, it is.
Or lose some.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, well.
That's Will's philosophy, and he kept going the backpedaling.
Yep.
Charles, you're up, buddy.
Here's the thing.
Hamilton?
Saskatchewan beat Ottawa last week, but they didn't dominate them.
Yes.
They beat them by 5 points. So they were okay, but they weren't spectacular. You would have thought the Saskatchewan team would have gone out and dominated Ottawa. They didn't. They gave up 400 yards passing to Drew Brown. This week they're playing Bo Levi Mitchell, and they've got to deal with Kenny Waller. So this one definitely is a tougher pick for me. Having said that, I still think Saskatchewan is the better team. I'm going to pick Saskatchewan in this one. I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. This one's got the potential to be a shootout. So I'm going to go with Saskatchewan, and I'm going to say Saskatchewan 52 points.
52 points. Okay. Did you guys see the graphic that Sparky put up with our picks? And he's going to post that for week 2. He did it for week 1, but it didn't get done in time, obviously, because week 1's gone. But right. He did it, and then we're going to do week 2 coming up tomorrow. Hopefully he can get that done before game time. I'm pretty excited. He did a really good job. I'm really impressed. He's stepping up and doing an amazing job as the producer of this show. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm calling him because nobody else is doing anything. Well, Charles is doing the agenda. I'm not doing anything. I just kind of show up and put things on my MasterCard.
I'm the head writer.
You're the head writer. Yeah.
Okay. Writer. Okay. I thought you said writer for a minute, and I was going to say, really?
Yeah, no, he can be the head writer too.
No, I'm good. I don't want to do that.
Okay. So where are we here? We're now 45 minutes into the show here. Let's go over a few things really cool before we get going here. Oh, get rid of those cookies. Okay, 5 PFF stats that will stand out from week 1. Yada, 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 yada. Where is it? Derek Mills, Calgary Stampeders, 67 yards after contact. I love that. Yak yards. Yak yards tell me whether or not the receiver is doing anything.
Who cares?
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Well, no, it's just like, what is this? So he's a running back and he...
I mean, if you can get yardage after contact, I think that's kind of impressive. You don't go down softly.
Well, he's a pretty big guy.
That's not yards after catch. That's yards after contact.
Yes, I know what it is. Yes. You're freezing, Christopher.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I should close the door.
Which calculates in my head often as bad tackling.
Bad tackling. And that was Ottawa.
Guys not rapping. Guys trying to take a big running back down.
Is there an award at the end of the season for running backs with the most yards after contact? No. Okay, so whatever. Sorry, I don't mean to poo-poo you, Charles, but I don't care about that.
I know, Andy. You know what? And I'm looking at this thing here, and it says Nathan Rourke, 5 missed tackles forced. I don't know what that means.
5 missed
That
means
tackles.
his scrambling. His scrambling. He got yards he shouldn't have got. He did a very good job when he couldn't get the ball downfield. He got himself out of trouble.
Mhm.
He caused the missed tackles.
Okay. And I was talking with Bobby Ford there, which is Trey Ford's father, and he was talking about his son's scrambling and running ability and how he put up a whole pile of yards, and he put up 54 yards. How many yards did Nathan Rourke get?
54.
54. How many touchdowns did Trey throw?
0.
0. How many interceptions? 1?
2. 2.
2.
I believe.
2 interceptions. Nathan Rourke, how many interceptions? 0. How many touchdowns? 3. Can't even compare them. Matthew Betts, 9 pressures. What?
Okay, I gotta admit, I'm kind of seeing why people call us a Lions Homer podcast. Just saying. But I don't care because
that, but how can you not?
I mean, the thing is, what you're saying, everything you're saying is factual.
I know.
I've got a good idea. I've got a good idea. Okay, you want to hear my idea?
Sure.
Okay, let's just say Nathan Rourke is the best quarterback in the CFL, and BC is going to win the Grey Cup. So we don't have to talk about him for the rest of the year, and then we can talk about everybody else.
So these are factual statements then?
Well, sure. Absolutely.
It's just the article from CFL.ca.
But you would have nothing.
I'm about to talk about a Calgary Stampeder player. Can I do that, Will? Would you
Christopher,
like me to?
You would have nothing to say if we concede this. You'd sit there silent for the rest of the year because your bullshit has finally gotten through to everybody. Is all I'm saying.
He appears to be the best quarterback in the CFL.
This isn't his. This is coming from that article he's reading.
CFL after one game. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, what's the Calgary stat?
What? I don't know.
That's what you said. You were just. Well, he said he was just about to start talking about a Calgary player.
Oh, I didn't hear what he said.
Yeah.
No, that's because you weren't listening.
Well,
the mouth was running.
Yeah, but guess what? It's natural for me to not listen to you because all I hear about is Nathan Rourke, Nathan Rourke, Nathan Rourke. That's it. Okay? Remember, we talked about Willie and his Bo Levi man crush. Well, guess what? CJ has a Nathan Rourke man crush. You heard it here first, folks.
It's the best. How can you not like him?
Absolutely. Okay, now that we're done talking.
Adrian Green.
Who's
Calgary
he?
Stampeders, 37.5 completion percentage allowed. Hamilton wanted to test Adrian Green often on Saturday, but the defensive back was up to the task. He only let 37.5% completions against him. Okay? This is the stat.
You know what? I'm trying to be really positive. There's only one thing I care about. You know what that is?
Wins and losses.
Thank you. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters.
Alexandre Gagnon, Montreal Alouettes, 0 missed special teams tackles.
Yippee.
This is just stupid.
How about this one? Will's going to throw this one in. Calgary is still undefeated, by the way. Just thought I'd mention that.
So's Winnipeg.
Did somebody get paid to write that article, by the way? And what kind of nerd is sitting there taking those stats?
Could be.
Did you see?
Nobody wanted to mention, the 3 missed field goals by a particular Edmonton kicker.
Yeah, that was pretty bad too.
That was awful.
It wasn't 3 missed field goals. It was 2, and he missed a convert.
That's right.
Because he missed 7 points.
Once again,
can
anybody argue with Will and his kickers out of football?
I'm with you, bro.
I don't understand why we need special teams at all.
Me too.
Get rid of all of the special teams players.
For that matter, maybe what we should do,
shrink the roster down.
Maybe what we should do is we should get rid of all quarterbacks except for Nathan Rourke and let him play for every team.
No, now Will's being fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
It's his natural state.
That'd be great. Anyways, can we move
Okay.
on? I want to talk
Following
about something.
Can I finish? Can I
Yes,
continue
sir.
here?
Sorry,
Do you mind?
sorry, I apologize.
Following the shock release from the Argos, Kadeem Carey believes the Riders have the best running back room in the CFL
Yippee!
with AJ Olette that's hurt.
Yes, he is. And I think he's hurt bad.
So,
Oh, he is.
and
They
he's
wouldn't
hurt
have signed
bad.
Kadeem Carey.
Otherwise, why would they sign Kadeem Carey?
Correct.
They wouldn't.
They wouldn't. Why would you? Okay. So you can't count both of them at the same time. Because if OJ Olette comes back, are they just going to release Kadeem Carey?
Depends
Salary
how
cap.
well he does. Yeah.
Okay, Hamilton Tiger Cats have signed veteran backup quarterback Jake Dogala to the
That's
practice
scary.
roster.
That's scary. Why? Why did they do that? Did someone get hurt?
Well, they weren't really. Who was impressed with Bo Levi Mitchell's performance in Calgary last week? Put up your hand. Well, Rick, was that you, or what are you doing? You put up your hand.
He was scratching his head.
Allergies, runny eyes.
Don't do that. Okay. I don't know how Dogala gets away with this. And who's the other guy? Isn't it Doge or whatever? Somebody else? Who signed him? Dogie?
He signed with Hamilton.
He signed with Hamilton as well?
No. There's only one Christopher.
No. There's Dogala and there's Dogie.
Sorry. You're right.
Thank you. Will's
Dogala. Dogala signed.
Who signed him? Was that
Dogala
Toronto?
signed with Hamilton.
Yes.
Dogala signed with Hamilton. Dogie signed with Toronto.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. MIC. See you real soon. KY. Why? Because we like you. Okay.
Oh Lord. It's gonna be a fun year.
You're the one with the Mickey Mouse shirt on.
Yes, it's also you can't tell how great it is from here. It's shimmery.
It's
Yeah,
the
I can
Mickey
see
Mouse.
it shiny.
It's the Mickey
I can
Mouse,
see that.
guys.
It's shining.
And I got the BC Lions on again.
No, it's
I'm
Mickey.
rocking the Lions. That's a
It's
Trivial
Mickey.
Pursuit question. What color are Mickey's shoes, you know?
My grandsons bought me this T-shirt when they were in Disneyland the last time. So
Okay. Quarterback coach Jarius Jackson joins
Missed
the
training
Winnipeg Blue
camp.
Bombers after a personal leave.
who cares?
I didn't know he was still in the league.
didn't
Really? He
either.
got fired as a head coach in Edmonton, and Winnipeg picked him up as a quarterback coach?
Yes, sir.
That's why
Why?
I was surprised because I hadn't heard that.
No.
That's why I put
hadn't
that
heard-
on because I didn't
hadn't
know he
heard
was
that.
with Winnipeg.
But I
So
mean,
did they
they're-
sign him like long time ago, but he took a leave of absence for personal
Yes.
reasons, and now he's
February.
Ju-
February. they
joined the
signed.
team? They signed him in February.
Yep.
Okay.
But you know what? Their offensive coordinator is a rookie, or he's first year, and maybe Jarius Jackson can help him out because he does have lots of experience. Let's face it. People have been making that mistake of hiring him for a number of years now.
Experience,
Yes.
just not
I-
success.
I think the BC Lions were the first to do that.
They were.
So
Good possibility.
Yeah.
It wasn't because I agreed with it, okay?
They didn't call you, Christopher?
No, they did not consult me. Rick Campbell did not phone me up and ask. Because I would have said,
Sure.
this guy was no fucking good when he was a quarterback. Why do you want him as a coach?
But you would have said that
But
you're
then you
no
could say
fucking
the
good
same
than
thing
Rick
about,
Campbell too.
What's that?
You'd have said the same thing to Rick Campbell too, though, about himself.
Oh, and let's just point something out here. One of the worst things about Ottawa the other night was their special teams. Guess who the special teams coach is?
Rick Campbell.
Thank you. They were horrific, their special teams.
Yeah.
So,
But then they got Bob Dice as their head coach too, and that's
and I didn't realize this in 2016. Rick Campbell was the head coach of Ottawa when they won the Grey Cup.
Yes.
And Bob Dice was the special teams coach. That's why he hired Rick Campbell.
Huh.
They threw Marcel Desjardins under the bus for that fiasco after the thing, because remember they won the Grey Cup, but they didn't have to comply with the Canadian racial rules as the expansion team. Okay?
Right.
So they had a loaded team, and the Canadians that they did have were good Canadians because they drafted them from every other team. So they were loaded and they won the Grey Cup. But after that, they didn't do so well because they just didn't do so well. And everybody thought it was the general manager, Marcel Desjardins' fault. And they weren't looking at the coach, Rick Campbell, because he's an idiot. And he can't coach. He shouldn't coach.
Okay.
So now he's in Ottawa as a special teams coordinator. Bob Dice is going to get fired because he's inadequate or inept. And Rick Campbell's going to be the head coach in Ottawa again.
Yes, probably.
I could see that happening.
And he'll probably hire Bob Dice as the special teams.
You want to be special teams coordinator? Let's just change spots.
Okay. Anything else, you guys? Oh, we talk about quarterbacks. A couple of things that have been coming up lately, and I don't know whether or not we talked about this, but it's you know how I get on a rant every once in a while, either on the ratio or on head coaches being coordinators and everything else.
Do you?
I think we have a serious problem in the CFL right now with quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks?
Quarterbacks, the players.
Okay.
What's happening is we're not developing quarterbacks. At one time, you would have a quarterback that's your starter. You would have a backup quarterback who is young, inexperienced, but has shown phenomenal talent, that is ready to step up into the number one position if given the opportunity. And then your third string quarterback was some young prospect that you hoped would mature into something wonderful. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You agree? We had Dave Dickinson, Mike Riley, and Casey Printers, or Casey Printers and then Mike Riley. We had all three of those guys in BC at one time.
And before that, the last year Doug Flutie was in Calgary, there was Doug Flutie, Jeff Garcia was the backup, and Dave Dickinson was the third string.
Exactly. And that's when teams developed quarterbacks. Okay.
And now then think about this too. Right after Flutie left, he went out. Garcia got elevated to number one. Dickinson was number two. Who's number three?
Henry Burris.
Right.
So
they used to develop quarterbacks
Tom Wilkinson
all the way
and
up.
Warren Moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me finish my rant.
Sorry, rant away.
I'm trying to be on a roll here. Okay.
Okay.
So what they do now, we've got number one starter, and I'm going to use the Lions as an example. We got number one starter. Why do we have Jeremiah Mazzoli as the number two? Why?
Because Chase Price isn't any good.
Because if his leg wasn't broken.
Why do they have Cody Fajardo? Why does Montreal have McLeod Bethel Thompson? Like, seriously, why aren't we developing quarterbacks? As soon as somebody gets in there, Winnipeg was developing a quarterback. His name was Drew Brown. We needed to take over for Zach Caleros. He needed to apprentice behind Zach for a couple more years, get his feet wet, do it properly. Oh, no. Ottawa steals him because they think he's a starter. Well, he's not a starter yet. He might be a starter in 2 years if he got the proper coaching and training. But no, they threw him to the Lions out there as a starter in Ottawa, and they're going to burn him out. We're not developing quarterbacks anymore. We're stealing them.
Yeah, but in my argument against that is the guy the guy who was behind Mike Riley in Edmonton. I keep on forgetting his name.
James Franklin.
Thank you, Franklin. He was there for 5 or 6 years. And then he went to Toronto and shit the bed. Okay. He was horrible.
Yeah, exactly. This is not.
And we all thought he
know
was going to be the next one. Right?
But he wasn't.
Spurgeon
you were wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, Spurgeon win. Yep.
Right? I mean, come on, Jonathan Jennings. We're developing quarterbacks. That doesn't mean that we get it right all the time. That doesn't mean that that person is capable of doing it. But when we start bringing in retreads for our backup positions, we're not doing justice to the young upcoming quarterbacks.
You're not.
Well, I just want to say, philosophies, I think, have changed a little bit. They're bringing in these guys because it seems like so much more nowadays. There just seems to be more injuries and more injuries to starting guys. So you're at the point when, I mean, I don't think any starter last year played a full season. You're at the point where you need an experienced number 2 guy because the starters are always going down. And the number 3 spot is now the more of the developmental spot.
I understand that, but the philosophy Montreal used, having Cody Fajardo and bringing up a young incoming Davis Alexander, and when Cody goes down, you put in your young guy, and all of a sudden he's a miracle worker, and he ends up being your starter. That's the development of a quarterback. Mm-hmm. That's not bringing in Cody Fajardo in case your starter gets hurt, because that's not a way in which to win. If Nathan Rourke gets injured, do you honestly believe that Jeremiah Mazzoli can win the Grey Cup for us?
He's got a better chance than Chase Price.
100%. So Chase Price shouldn't be there, but somebody else should. Why can't we have? Why is Dogala still in the league? He shouldn't be. This is my rant right now. We're not developing quarterbacks. We're stealing them from other teams.
And you're right, but sometimes things happen. For example, look at Calgary when Nick Arbuckle was here. Bo Levi Mitchell got hurt, and Nick Arbuckle got into 5 games, I think, or 6 games, and he won 5 of them.
Yep.
And the next year he was gone to another team without people realizing that Calgary was a good team back then, and that's probably why he won, because he's done nothing since other than win the Grey Cup this past year, but that was a 1-game thing.
I understand, and I agree with you. Teams have to stop stealing the backup quarterback from another team.
They're not going to do that because they want to win.
No, of course not.
Be better.
Because they're too lazy to train their own.
Sure.
It's called free agency. That happens in all sports.
Exactly, and it's killing the league.
No, I don't think it is.
100% it is. The fans don't like it because they can't get. All of a sudden, they just bought this guy's jersey and now he's gone. Somebody was bitching the other day in Montreal that he bought a Cody Fajardo T-shirt and the next day he was gone. Or jersey.
Was he a loser? He bought a Cody Fajardo T-shirt?
I know. I said, what the fuck were you thinking? But, it's like one of those things. Free agency is not a good thing. Yes, it is for the players, but not for the teams, not for the fans.
I think what it is the team philosophy is not planning for years down the road. It's just planning for next season.
Yeah. Correct. Or this season.
But what's the reason for that? Is because GMs and coaches are so terrified that they have a bad year and they get fired, because teams never stick with hardly ever stick with coaches more than 2 years if they're not successful. They're trying to build some sort of roster that's going to help them win now. They don't have time to develop guys.
I understand that. I mean, look at Mike O'Shea. 5 years he was terrible in Winnipeg. They stuck with him, and he turns out to be the best coach in the CFL right now. I'm doing fine. You're frozen.
Hello.
There you're back. I'm back.
You're back. Now you're gone.
No, I'm back. I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you back now?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know whether or not I'm sticking around. We'll see what happens.
No, you're gone again.
Can't guarantee my Wi-Fi is going to work. Charles, you okay, or he's frozen too?
Yeah, he's frozen now.
Yeah, he's gone. Okay. Hopefully he comes back, because we're going to close the show off now because it's time to go. That's 2 hours, and I might not be able to get it up onto YouTube.
Only an hour.
Oh, it's only an hour. Right. Sorry.
We'll
Well,
put
don't
the
do that.
spotlight on you.
No. Don't do that.
Go ahead.
Moron.
What were you saying? Because you froze.
I was talking about Mike O'Shea being a shitty coach for 5 years and then all of a sudden turns the corner and wins a Grey Cup and goes to 5 straight Grey Cup appearances. I mean, you got to stick with your coach. You got to stick with the plan, and you can't just flip the cards every time that turns around. But you need to hire somebody that's competent. And Ottawa's a terrible team for a long time, and then they went and hired Bob Dice. I mean, what the fuck were they thinking?
Well, I mean, the CFL retreads coaches like there's no tomorrow, right? I mean,
And quarterbacks by the looks of it.
yeah, well, I mean, and look at BC. How long was what's his name in BC?
Oh,
Campbell.
too long. Three years?
Was he
4?
there 3 years? Okay. I thought they got rid of him fast.
Well, no, because what's his name? Devon Claybrooks was in 2019. He got fired. Rick Campbell was hired for the 2020 season.
That's correct. There was
2020,
none.
2021, 2022, 23, 24. He was there like 5 years.
So he got a chance. There's no doubt about it.
He got a chance. He was just no fucking good.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I mean,
I think he stuck with him. I mean, he just made some absolutely terrible in-game decisions last year and the year before for sure. And before that, BC didn't have a team that really made a difference. So,
but once again, is it the team's fault that they're not looking after their quarterbacks? They're not making them better because these guys obviously want to make money. And sometimes the only way they're going to make money is by going to another team. Right? And another team, you make more money and you can be the starter. So maybe it's not the team, maybe it's the players. And with these 1 year freaking contracts that everybody signs constantly,
100%.
it's a problem.
Short-term thinking.
There's a lot of problems with this league right now that need to be fixed. 1 year contracts is one of them. Free agency is another. Not developing quarterbacks, having head coaches as coordinators, the fucking ratio.
Yep.
You want to know why we're killing quarterbacks? Because we have American defensive linemen and we have Canadian offensive linemen, and the Canadians can't keep up with the Americans. Hate to say it, but it's true.
We do tend to save those Canadian spots for big white boys on the O-line, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. And why?
But most of the time, the left and right tackles are Americans.
That's
Sometimes,
true.
yes. Usually the left tackle.
Yeah.
And very rare do you see a Canadian on a defensive lineman. But then, BC's got Matthew Betts.
True.
I think lots of teams use Canadian defensive linemen as rotation guys. Calgary's done it for years.
Yes. I mean, there was a time in BC with Wally Buono where we only had one Canadian on the defensive side of the ball. One.
Right.
And that was the safety, J.R. LaRose.
Right.
Everybody was an American. Wally had all Americans on defense.
And that comes from a Canadian defensive back, wouldn't you believe it or not?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. But he had Kelly Lockbaum as a backup.
There you go.
Kelly was awesome. Okay, that's going to be the end of the show. We're going to close it off. It's been Let's Talk CFL podcast episode number 608. We're going into week 2 of the 2025 CFL season, and we're watching some football this weekend. It's starting tomorrow night with the BC Lions into Winnipeg to play the Bombers. So you guys all take care. Have a good one. Rick, say goodnight.
Good night, all you CFLers. Looking forward to some good games. Go Bombers.
Yeah,
okay. Charles.
But you picked somebody else.
Should be an interesting week.
For the Bombers.
Should be an interesting weekend. Some interesting games this weekend, and we'll be here to talk about them a week from today.
Excellent. And William, might be Tuesday. Who knows?
There's
Depends
no
on what your
way.
schedule is.
there is no way me and you and Charles picked the same games for the second consecutive
2 weeks in a row.
It's true.
Like,
It's true story. We did.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. We might do it the week after. I was kind of looking at those games too. I think they're pretty similar.
Anyways, good night, everybody. Watch football this weekend. It's important. And if you're fans that go to, and if the game is in your hometown, go to the football game.
100%. We need attendance. It's good for the league. Good night, everybody.
See you.